It's all about keeping the clients happy, right?
Right.
There's no greater pleasure in real estate than getting a referral from family, friends, repeat client. That means if you get a referral, that means you're doing something right.
Because we can write off our cars. Everybody's driving, Beamers or Teslas or stuff like that. So I think we're our own worst enemies because it's not like that at all. And I think the average income for a realtor is like $30,000 to $40,000. It's not what people look at, and it's especially when you're watching these like $1 million listing shows when they're selling.
Yeah.
Oh, the commission's $3 million.
$200,000.
It's not like that at all. No. But it's a great career, especially if you're willing to put in the work. Welcome to the TNT Real Estate Podcast, where we spark conversations that set you up for real estate success. I'm Tyler.
And I'm Tanya, and each week we bring you expert tips on navigating Northern Ontario's real estate market. Whether you're buying, selling, or investing, we've got the tools to help you thrive.
Welcome back to the TNT Real Estate Podcast. We have an interesting episode for you today. We have Tanya's out of town on a little vacation, so I recruited a good buddy of mine, but also a colleague, Mr. Mario Roy. So thank you, Mario, for coming on.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So you've been in the business for about 6 years now.
Yep.
Before that, it was a mining background, just like most people in Sudbury. But you came into real estate. You've been crushing it for 6 years. What do you think? I guess walk me through. You went into mining, now into real estate. Walk me through like that process that was like, you know what, maybe this isn't for me. I want to try selling real estate.
Yeah, for sure. I was at Valley for 12 years. So obviously, working shift work and not easy on the body, right? You work a 4-5-5-4 schedule, days, nights, mix match. So some people can work the shift work, and some people have a hard time. And I'll be honest, I was definitely one of them. A lot of hazards on the ground, swallowing fumes, diesel, all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
Bad ventilation. So yeah, I've always had since I was a kid, I've always loved helping people, and even in high school, I'm like maybe being a realtor one day would be kind of cool.
Right.
And about 7 years ago, I was just kind of tired of the shift work and all that fun stuff. So I said, real estate's it's 5 courses. So I said, I'll take the first course, see if I enjoy it, and we'll go from there. And wow, it's can't believe it's been over 6 years already. And it's been quite interesting. And it's been quite the ride, and truly happy. Yeah.
It's interesting. So you're not the only miner that's transitioned into real estate in the last, throughout all of the history of real estate, basically, especially in Sudbury, there's been a couple, and there's been a lot of successful people that come out of mining into real estate. What do you think is like that key to like, why do the miners, and some of them make it, some of them don't, but like why, what do you think is the benefit of like the success from a miner into real estate? Is it like the connections that you have? Because it's kind of a brotherhood when you're underground and when you're working with other miners. Do you think that is the process of your success, or is it like the work ethic? What do you think it is?
I think it's a bit of a combination of everything. Definitely, I've had clients who were miners or ex-miners.
Right.
I think it's just, the connections, and being driven, like on the ground, like, if we don't produce, we don't get paid very well, or we don't get bonus. It's just like in real estate, right? It's going from a pretty good salary to self-employed, commission-based only is definitely interesting.
Yeah, it's way different.
Way different, right? At Valley, we had a paycheck every 2 weeks. In real estate, we only get a paycheck when we sell a house or when it closes.
Right.
So yeah, I think just driven. Motivation, I think, applies both to mining and real estate. So I think those were two big keys to my success, definitely.
Right. I'm gonna try and remember the guy's name, but he was an area trainer that you stayed with. What was his name? Malcolm?
Yes, Malcolm Chokey. So when I did my last commercial course, I'm obviously from Sudbury, and the last commercial course, you have to do it in class in Toronto.
Right.
So instead of, the course was in 2 sections. So we just kind of hit it off. Very nice guy. So went out for dinner, let me stay at his place. Yeah. I still talk to him to this day. He sends me clients or leads. I do the same thing. He's a big commercial realtor in the GTA.
Yeah.
So.
It's funny. So I kind of just popped up, and I didn't even have this written down, but I remember you telling me that story. But he also when he was up, he taught me, I think it might have been my broker's course potentially when he was in Sudbury. But anyways, he told me that some of the best realtors are second career realtors. So if you're like when I started at 22 years old, I never really had a career before that. I just worked, small jobs, typically like student jobs. And then I got into real estate. But he said some of the most successful realtors that he has seen are second career. So it'd be like mining to real estate or some other sales into real estate. So it's kind of interesting, and you obviously have a good connection with him as well. But do you think that is kind of beneficial to, I mean, it's like the work ethic part, especially for the miners that are working 12-hour shifts, and when you guys are down there, you go nonstop basically. And I think when like you're coming in from a student, let's say for me, if I didn't have like the push, it's like very easy because it's not time. There's nobody telling you, okay, this is when you have to be calling. This is when you have to be sending emails. Like there's no structure. You could literally get your license and then just stay at home if you wanted. Yeah. So I think the second career part of that is, this is what is expected from somebody that actually works a real job, and you just translate that into real estate. And if you spend even 8 hours, doesn't have to be 12 hours a day doing the work, you'll be a very successful realtor.
No, I agree. I think, life experiences, past jobs, past careers mean everything.
Right.
We do see many young people come in the industry and, wouldn't say they're not driven, but, aren't as go-getters as people who've worked in the past who've had jobs or second careers, in my opinion.
Yeah.
A lot of people come out, real estate is easy. We make all this money, but there's a lot more that goes into it than people actually see, right?
Yeah, and I think to some extent we might be our own worst enemies with that stuff because we're always like there's all sorts of realtors on Facebook or Instagram right now, especially these days. Like it's like the award ceremony, and it's like, oh, look at me, I got this award. Look at me, I got this award. And because we can write off our cars, everybody's driving Beamers or Teslas or stuff like that. So I think we're our own worst enemies because it's not like that at all. And like I think the average income for a realtor is like $30,000 to $40,000. Like it's not what people look at, and it's especially when you're watching these like $1 million listing shows when they're selling. Yeah. Oh, the commission's $3 million. It's like it's not like that at all. No. But it's it's a great career, especially if you're willing to put in the work. But so you obviously are from Sudbury, Greater Sudbury, Chelmsford.
Born and raised in Chelmsford, still live there to this day. Yeah.
And is that like you obviously sell a lot of houses out there? Is that kind of your target market? Is that where you like to stay? Now I guess you're all over, but that's where your family and friends are.
Yeah, obviously I'm licensed selling anywhere in Ontario. Right. Obviously I like selling my hometown, Chelmsford, but I've sold over 100 homes and mostly all over Sudbury.
Right.
I've gone to Timmins, North Bay as well. I won't lie to you, if somebody calls me to go list their house, even if it be in Sarnia, if somebody wants their house sold, it'd be my pleasure to go.
Right.
I think there's no greater attribute than a realtor than to provide great customer service and to go above and beyond for their clients.
Right.
That's what I try to base my business on.
Yeah.
I think, selling and buying a house is your biggest financial investment you'll ever make.
Right.
And you're putting all your trust in your agent. Right. So to me, it's all about customer service, being prepared, doing your homework, not just putting a sign on the lawn and then taking off. Right.
Right.
A lot of agents, as well as you've been doing this for a long time, will dish out several $1,000s even before the property hits the market. Right. Professional photos, marketing, but that's what clients expect from us.
Right.
And to me, that's our due diligence as agents, to list the property the best we can and go above and beyond for our clients.
Yeah.
Because they're putting their trust in us.
I remember, was it last year or the year before that you went to Timmins to sell? I think it might have been.
It was 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Repeat client. It was a small house.
Yeah.
And I went to Timmins 3 times. And now it's a little bit different with Timmins because there's 2-3 boards, I believe, in Ontario that aren't part of of our board. So it was a little bit. Had to pay extra money to put on the Timmins board, but that's fine. That client was very happy at the end of the day. It took a little bit longer to sell, and a lot of drives and snowstorms, but the client was happy.
All right.
That's all that matters.
Yeah. So for the listeners that don't know where Timmins is, if you know where Sudbury is, it's basically 4 hours north, and it's Highway 144, which is it's kind of a famous highway because it's 2 lanes, one there, one back,
very narrow,
no shoulders. It's like
nowhere to stop.
It could be a dangerous highway, but
absolutely.
I remember 2 years ago when I was like, oh, Mario, what are you up to for the week? Oh, I'm going to Timmins. I'm like, what the hell are you going to Timmins for? What do you like? What? He goes, oh, I'm going to list a house. I'm like, what? I'm like, whoa, like, what is, he goes, oh, it's a past client. They, like, I tried to, refer it out, but they wanted me. They trusted me, and I'm going. So I'm like, hey.
It's all about keeping the clients happy, right? There's no greater pleasure in real estate than getting a referral from family, friends, repeat client. That means if you get a referral, that means you're doing something right. Right. And I think we could both agree, without referrals, we need clients more than we know. Right. Because without referrals, we don't have much of a business.
Right, for sure. And I mean, it's like, that's what we teach our newer agents in the office too. Like, it's you get a client, you are grateful for that client, you go above and beyond, you do a great job, and that client could be, a lifeline when you move forward in your career, like for the next years and years.
So I remember during COVID, a colleague referred me a client, nice young couple, not a big budget, peak of COVID. Yeah. And I told him, like, this will not be easy to get done. Right. But no problem. Young couple, really liked working with them. And I think I showed them literally 49 houses during COVID. And we were going through a max budget. And back during COVID was no conditions. Right. And they weren't wasting my time. They were going to the best, to their max value. Yeah. And we finally got a house, and I never gave up on them. And guess what? I think they sent me 5 referrals now in the last 4 years. Yeah. So doesn't matter the price point, any client is a client, and you never know what business you do a great job, whether it doesn't matter the price point, because you just never done the road. Right. If you do a great job, that small listing or that small buy could turn into repeat business or referrals or anything like that. So that's one thing I think I've learned in 6 years, that you treat everybody the same, whether it's $100,000 or $3 million. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I agree. And so let's get into the weeds a little bit. So we're in a little bit of a changing market. It's still a strong seller's market, but we are seeing, especially over the winter that we just had, like a lot of the home sales were kind of starting to slow down. Days on market was extending a little bit, and I mean, once we get through the spring market, it might slow down again. We don't know, but I mean, we're in a pretty strong situation in Sudbury. Yes. But what do you think like the next 3 years looks like in Sudbury? Do you think it's a good time to buy, sell, move up, downsize?
I know personally, I'm seeing a lot of seniors downsize. Right. I think we all know in Sudbury and really across the country, there's definitely a lack of inventory. Right. I find a lot of houses in the 300 to 500 price range right now are going for multiple offers. It seems like that's where 50-60% of the buyers are, especially first-time home buyers are right now. And I'll be honest, it's not easy being a first-time home buyer. No. There's so many things going around the world with tariffs, and that's driving the cost of living up. That you almost need two good incomes just to buy a home. Right. So, but I'd rather see clients buy a home than to pay $2,500 in rent. Right. The rental market in Sudbury is still quite strong.
I was going to say the rents in Sudbury are ridiculously high compared. Yeah.
So I'd rather see somebody put it towards themselves. Than to. Yeah.
Yeah, it's big. It's especially like on the rental side. But a lot of people watching are kind of familiar with Sudbury, and there are a couple of them are investors. But it's like you can rent a house for $3,000 a month, but you could also buy it, and your monthly payment be the same or a little bit cheaper as well. So it's
and a rent of $3,000 would be a mortgage of probably $450,000-$500,000. Yeah, right. So you can give a. Yeah. But I think a lot of problems we're facing is a lot of people, buyers don't have the down payment. To purchase the first property, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think the downsizing thing, I mean, throughout COVID, I feel like there was a little bit of a stalemate, because when an older person looks at selling their house, whatever size it is, they typically look at either a smaller house or they look into like a retirement community. Yes. And I feel like throughout COVID, you can't go into a retirement community because most of them were shut down. You can get in or out. That's right. And they didn't want to give up their social life. They didn't want to give up their access to grocery stores or family and stuff like that. And so they said, you know what, we're just going to stay in our house, which made inventory that much lower in Sudbury. And that's why prices kind of skyrocketed. I mean, there's a whole bunch of reasons why they did skyrocket, but that was a major one, when it was just like, you take all the seniors out of the market, especially selling their new Sudbury bungalows or like reasonable houses, and then there's nothing to buy. but people have more cash because the government was printing money, and so that's what kind of was the stalemate, I think. But do you think it's so obviously a good time to downsize, because even if they've held their house for 5 or 6 years, they have a lot of appreciation built up in their house. But do you think it's a good time, let's say, to like upsize from maybe they've owned their house for 5 years, they were 25, now they're 30, they have 2 decent jobs, which are better than they were 5 years ago. Do you think it's a good time to upsize those houses too?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's situation is different. If you're talking about that age demographic, I think, a lot of people are trying to start families, so obviously they're all growing their house. So yeah, I mean, I think what we've seen in the last 20 years in Sudbury is, the house evaluations have obviously just kind of increased year over year. I've never heard anybody say I lost money on my home when they bought it 5-10 years ago. Right. Now the market's still quite strong in Sudbury. Luckily, we have a lot of jobs like government, mining. A lot of people make pretty good money in Sudbury.
Right. Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's never a bad time to upgrade if you like. I get, like I said, buying a house is one of the biggest financial decisions you'll make. Yeah. And everybody's situation is different. Everybody's finances are different. What's best for everybody? What's best for you and your family? Right. But no, I haven't. If you want to upgrade, this is definitely a good time. I don't see people. I don't see house prices going down anytime soon. Just my opinion. Yeah. So just based on what we've seen the last 10, 15 years.
Right. Right. Yeah. I think we're a pretty stable market.
That's right.
I talked to a lot of realtors from the GTA and kind of across the country as well, and they're all like, "Oh, so I'm gonna send a client over to Sudbury, but you're gonna be able to get them a pretty good deal, right?" And I'm like, "Well, I mean, it's probably a good deal if you're coming from the GTA because house prices are half.
$9, that's right.
But they're still going to have to compete on most of the houses that they're looking at buying. So that's an interesting conversation. They're like, "What? Our house prices are down 30%." Yeah. I'm like, "Yeah, ours went up 9% last year." So
yeah, I was reading an article this morning actually before I came in, and somebody lost $400,000 on their home in Toronto.
Really? Yeah.
Because they bought during the peak of COVID, and it's like, again, it's crazy.
It's tough, yeah.
Imagine losing that kind of money in 3 or 4 years. It's like, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, and throughout COVID, there was a lot of GTA investors that were coming up and buying because this is all they couldn't afford.
That's right.
And so, I mean, some of them did fantastic, and others were like, "Oh, they've been calling me over the last couple of years and being like, okay, we're gonna sell." Like, I didn't like the whole investment thing especially when it's 4 hours away from where you live is like getting difficult for me. And I said that's totally fine. But when they were coming up in COVID, I would always tell them, like, this is like unusual. This is not going to happen forever, especially the COVID market. This is like a once in a generation.
That's right.
But it was like we're a stable market, so we're going to go up, our 2 to 5% every single year, maybe a little bit more. But we're usually not going to see that 25% increase or appreciation over a year, especially. So we're not, but we're also not going to bottom out like Toronto does. They go up 30%, they drop 30%, they go up and drop and up and drop. We're like a very stable market, which is good for investments, which is what most people want to invest in.
Well, it's good for everybody, not just investors. Right. It's good for everybody, right?
Right. So, back to kind of Chelmsford and Azilda, lots of French speakers, you as well, because we could hear your little accent a little bit. What's it like being a bilingual realtor in Sudbury?
Well, I think it's got a big advantage, obviously, right? Me personally, I love helping seniors. That's my niche clientele. Yeah. And it's just easier to explain documents, explain stuff through the computer. Just having that bilingualism, just huge. Yeah. I'm not sure what the exact stats are for in Greater Sudbury for French and English, but it's probably close to 50-50, I would say.
Right.
So just, But again, at the end of the day, whether you speak French, English, it's all about proper presentation, representing yourself well. What can you do best for your clients? Customer service. Yep. If I go in to meet a seller and I'm not prepared and I can speak French, and so you come in behind me, you've been very successful yourself, and have a beautiful presentation, at the end of the day, they won't care. Right. Most likely, they're going to go with you than me just because I'm French if I'm not prepared.
Right. Yeah. I'm always jealous when I'm because Tanya and I share an office at Sutton, anyways, and. She'll get a phone call and she'll be like, "Hello," and then very quickly she'll be like, "Oh, parle français." I'm like, "Oh man, I wish I could do that," because there are a couple opportunities, especially they'll call me and I'll be like, well, give me 1 sec, and I'll pass the phone off or whatever. But yeah, it's not, I mean, it's not usual that somebody can only speak French. Like usually they have but I mean, for a lot, especially the older generation, they think in French because like most of their childhood was French.
That's right.
And so they're just learning English, from teens on. But yeah, their base is in French. Like they think in French. So when you're explaining documents and doing all the strategy talk and stuff, I think it's a huge advantage to be able to speak both. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Okay. So you are the second best athlete in the office behind yours truly.
Yes.
Is that correct? Correct statement?
Sure.
Especially at baseball?
At baseball, I'd golf. I'll admit you have me. At baseball, I don't know. It's pretty close.
You could take the crown. You could take the crown for baseball for sure. Okay, so obviously you played baseball. You played sports your whole life, like most kids in Sudbury. Like we're very fortunate to have all the sports around us. Do you think there is an advantage for those people that have played sports and like competitively, like when you play baseball and do you think there's an advantage, even like a mindset advantage on
100%.
those? Yeah.
If you're an athlete and if you're not competitive, I'll be honest, I don't buy it.
Right.
No. If you're an athlete, most athletes I know, whether they've played fairly high hockey or high baseball, everybody's got a competitive desire in them.
Right.
You and I go golfing for fun and we have a lot of fun, but we cheer each other on, but we do want to beat each other.
Right.
We golf with our friends. We all, everybody's, if you're an athlete, you have some kind of competitive spirit inside you. A
little flair, yeah.
And for me, I think it's transitioned into real estate.
Yeah.
When you want to represent your clients well, you want to try to win them when you're multiple offers, try to get them the property.
Right.
What can you do differently than the other agent or the other offers? It's all about, it's just like when you're playing sports. It's strategic, proper planning.
Right.
But yeah, I would think playing sports, I think personally gives you a little bit of a drive to do well in real estate.
Yeah.
I can't speak for yourself. But.
Yeah. Well, I was listening to a podcast on the way here and they were basically saying the same thing. Like, I mean, there's obviously issues with like professionals getting out of the sport and then kind of, going into all the bad roads, but there is a lot of stories. And I think of one like Mark Ferris from down in Toronto. He was a semi-professional hockey player and he transitioned out of that because it was the end of basically as far as he can go in hockey without going to the NHL, and he brought that that drive and dedication. And like when you're playing semi-professional sports or even like AAA hockey or AA hockey, like you learn the art of dedication and pushing through and
hard work
and and doing that, so that can obviously get into any career ladders, but I think sales is one that it's so flexible that you can kind of do whatever you want with it. And these guys are coming in and blowing up because they have that determination and they know you got to get to the gym every single day, you got to do your calls in real estate every single day. So it's I think it's a benefit as well.
You won't be, your success depends on the work you put in. Right. If you don't put any work in, don't expect to be successful in real estate, sports, or any career. If you're willing to put the work and the time and blood, sweat, and tears, well, then there's a good chance to be successful, right? It's just like anything else. Yeah.
Okay, so in this market right now, obviously it's starting to heat up. We're just on like the edge of like the spring market, even though we got 40 centimeters last year, which kind of put out the fire in Sudbury. So if somebody's listening right now, say let's start with like first time home buyers. They're looking, 2026 is their year to get into the market. They've got their pre-approval, they're ready to go. They come talk to you and say, Mario, what's the market like? What are you telling them?
Well, I think the big thing, you be honest with your clients. It is still definitely a seller's market. Yeah. And you just make sure that they're pre-approved. Right. And you ask them what are they looking for? How many bedrooms, baths, what location, what timeline? Some people want to get in before the school starts. Everybody's different. Some people are coming here for a new job. Right. But no, you just tell them, here's where the market's at. And I always tell my clients, I don't like to push, but if we see something that we like, we need to jump. Right. Days on market is around 32 days in Sudbury. So houses are still not lasting very long. And I find a lot of first time home buyers are competing where like 60-70% of the buyers are within that, like again I said earlier, that $300 to $500 price range. Right. right? So it's
So it's gonna be aggressive is basically what you're telling them.
Exactly.
Are you still seeing a lot of bidding wars and stuff out there?
Yeah, we are still obviously they come down since COVID,
Right.
But due to the lack of inventory and especially locations, like I know last month, like I do a lot of homework in the Chelmsford market,
Right.
And I think there was like 8 houses out of 12 that sold over asking last month in Chelmsford,
Right.
And it was not just 2,000-3,000 there. We saw 105 over,
Right.
85 over,
Right.
It's all about timing. When you list a property, like I look at what's my competition for this house,
Right.
People say, well, you just want to make a sale. No, the time to sell your house is now because there's only 2 houses in all of the valley,
Right.
Or there's only 3 houses in all of Chemmy,
Yeah.
And if you're the only house within that price range,
Yeah.
you're gonna get 10 buyers for one house. So there's a good chance you'll get maximum dollar for your property, or you might even get over maximum value for your property, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we were talking about that in the office the other day at our morning meeting, and it's not just about the price and the marketing; it's also about the strategy behind it. And it's just like you mention it often. Like in Chelmsford, in Azilda, there's 3 houses for sale. There's always a couple a little bit higher because there's the new development, and then there's one from 600 to 0 basically. And so like it's a huge opportunity, especially when there's nothing else on the market. If somebody wants to live in Azilda, which I feel like a lot of people do, like if you're from Azilda, or even if you're from like the
Outskirts Valley, Garrison.
Yeah, like they're totally, like, Azilda is a huge hotspot. So is Chelmsford, so is Garrison, like, because like when the city gets more and more expensive, they go a little bit farther out, and that is Azilda, it's Garrison, it's Minnow Lake, it's just like the next sphere, right? So I think there's opportunities anywhere, and like Tanya and I were talking a podcast or 2 ago about like right in mid spring, when they're probably the highest amount of buyers and the highest amount of listings, there's also some listings that get forgotten, and they'll be like, I remember last year there was 5 or 6 new Sudbury bungalows that were listed on the same day, and then I went to see all of them with a client because it was all almost the exact same house, just some were nicer, some were not. And so one of these houses is going to get forgotten because 100%. these 20 buyers are going to go to the nice house, and then they're going to go to the second house, and then they're going to go to the third house, and there's going to knock a couple buyers off. A couple of them are going to get disappointed. Some of them are going to wait till the summer, and so we actually got one at asking price with a home inspection condition, which is like unheard of in Sudbury in the spring,
and multiple offers.
Right.
I think I remember that quite well, and I think everybody had, like, they were holding offers, and they were all presenting offers within that 1 or 2 day period.
Yeah.
So obviously, if you're a buyer, you're not going to put an offer on 2 houses, right?
Right.
So exactly. Yeah. When you list a house, it's all about pricing, strategic marketing.
Yeah.
Doing your homework as an agent, that's our jobs. But if you're competing, if you put a house in the market and there's 5 houses within that price range, it's going to sell, but is it going to sell at asking? There's a good chance it may sell below asking because you got competition, right? So as an agent, it's our jobs to do our due diligence, our homework. Yeah. It's like I said, it's a lot more than people think.
Yeah. And so let's say the same first time home buyer that comes to you and asks for your opinion, what if they ask you, like, what are some things to watch out for in this market? Like what are some like tips and tricks that you would use to maybe win them an offer besides being pre-approved, etc.?
There's a few things you can do. I won't lie to you. Last month we were 3 offers on a house. I won't say the location, and we had the least amount of money, but we wrote a nice letter.
Right.
We had left the closing date blank, and let the sellers choose.
Yeah.
Just small little things that you can do. Obviously, if you go no conditions, is definitely a plus.
Yeah.
But then it's you're putting a lot of pressure on the buyer to go no conditions, right? Sometimes it needs to be done.
Yeah.
And if nobody knows what that means, a no condition offer is when we call it a cash offer. Yeah. You're pretty much saying, I could buy the house and everything needs to be a go.
Yeah. They if they sign the offer, they flip the sold sign. Yeah. But there's ways to obviously minimize like the risk if you do like a pre-inspection, or make sure you get your pre-approval.
That's right.
Like there's ways to go about that. But yeah, it's obviously cash is king is what we say.
That's right.
But yeah, it's important to do all the homework before too.
I think one of the biggest things I've seen is when sellers want to buy a house and then they have to sell their house.
Right.
That's where, it gets tricky because every agent has different marketing strategies.
Yeah.
If you buy first, then you don't know what your house is going to sell for.
Right.
And then you don't know what timeline it's going to sell in.
Right.
And you may accept an offer with less money just to get your new house.
Right.
I personally prefer selling the house first. Then you can go to the bank and say, hey, my house sold for X amount of dollars.
Yeah.
And what I like to do is I'll put a 90-day closing period.
Yeah.
Then it gives me a bit of time to go house shopping with my buyers.
Yep.
Now we know exactly what their house sold for. We can go to the bank, our house sold for X. The pre-approval is right down to the penny. And then if we get a house that we like and we get the closing closing date faster, then we could just bump up their sale, right?
Yeah.
But we are seeing a lot more offers than during COVID. Conditional on sellers buying a house.
Yeah.
Or selling a house, sorry.
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely in there. And we were talking in the office just yesterday, I think it was, and there was like a little bit of a chain going, and I haven't seen a chain since pre-COVID basically, but it was like one sale is conditional on another sale, which is conditional on another sale, and one of them just has to
go wrong.
One of them has to go wrong or go right for them to move forward. But yeah, it's interesting that we're kind of getting back into that market. It takes more skill for sure than the COVID market. But I think as an office, I think we're pretty well situated. We have a lot of great agents in the office that can kind of go through it. And yeah. All right, Mario, we have one more segment that we like to do with our guests. Are you prepared for a rapid fire session?
Sure. Let's give it a go.
And this is like real estate related, but also not real estate related. So I'm going to give you an easy one. Toronto Maple Leafs.
Montreal Canadiens.
How did I know? As a spectator, hockey or baseball? And you can't include the World Series that you were at last year either. Hockey or baseball to watch?
That's a tough one. I'm a huge sports fan. I love them both. But the World Series was something I'll never forget. So I'll say...
Yeah, you're going to say baseball?
Yeah.
All right. Sell first or buy first? We're going to just talk about that.
Definitely sell first. That's my opinion.
Yeah. Biggest mistake that sellers make?
Not listening to the realtor.
One thing you never skip before listing a property?
Doing your homework.
Doing your homework, yeah. Okay, and the last one. Do you prefer to work with sellers or buyers?
I'll be honest, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter? You like it?
No, to me, it's all about customer service. If they're willing to work with me, whether the buyer or seller, it's an honor that they call me. And
right.
It doesn't really matter. There's pros and cons to both.
Right.
So thank you for having me on your podcast.
Yeah.
And, I guess I got to up my golf game to beat you this summer. If we get to golf, hopefully we get to golf soon with 6 feet of snow.
Oh my God. Yeah, hopefully. Sounds good. Well, we appreciate you coming on. And for all you guys out there, we appreciate you guys watching. Feel free to subscribe or like or share this with somebody that is looking for a great Zilda, Chelmsford, Greater Sudbury Realtor. And we will see you guys next time.
Take care. Thank you.